Good afternoon. Thanks for the introduction. Um, I just realized yesterday that I'm already more than 30 years in the internet industry. So I guess I'm one of the old guys nowadays. And also realized that back in '89, I configured my first Cisco router with iOS 8.3 at the time. So yeah, makes me a little bit old. Anyway, I'm, as Rob mentioned, with Interxion. We are a data center company. We have around 290 plus data centers around the world in 25 countries, around 4,400 customers plus, with 700 carriers on board in our data centers. We use different brands, Interxion, Digital Realty. We have ACT in LATAM. We have Lambda Helix in Greece, Medallion, Icolo in Africa, Terraco in Africa. So we're quite large. And what I would like to do today is to explain a little bit about virtual peering and the benefits of virtual peering, and give you an idea on how we look at it, and maybe to help you to define your own type of service for that. So first off, we live in what we call the hyperconnected air. So more and more devices are coming into play and are being connected to the internet. IoT devices, so sensors. We see, for instance, in home automation, if I now take my phone, I can enable all the lights at home. I can look at my security cameras at home. I guess I'm not the only one. I guess because we're in a room full of geeks, you guys will have the same or even more than I have, and maybe even you configured and programmed everything yourself. But also in the industry, in the UK, we have seen warehouses where drones will fly autonomously and do inventory management on their own, being connected to the internet, so they can actually upload all the information they have from that inventory directly into the cloud and start processing that. All these devices are connected. All these devices produce data. And we expect more and more from these devices. We expect more and more from the connected internet. We expect to be able to use mobiles, laptops, other devices, and use them together. So you start watching a movie on a phone, and then afterwards you continue watching it from home on your big screen. We expect and we see virtual reality. We see augmented reality. So, for instance, we see in architecture that you can have VR goggles on, and then have, besides the clear view that you have on a building, have all kinds of information next to it. We see games, and we talked a bit earlier about gamification. We see games where you can actually walk around and have the normal view together with an augmented view. That needs all kinds of rendering as close as possible to your goggles, or as close as possible to an edge location. Again, all produces data. Besides virtual reality, augmented reality, we saw also artificial intelligence, machine learning. We want to have a personalization. If I go to a supermarket, I want to see advertisements for me. I don't want to see advertisement for someone else. So they know what my shopping experience is, so they know what kind of beer I buy. So if after a few weeks I don't buy that beer anymore in that supermarket, most probably I will buy it somewhere else. So if they then do a discount on my beer, and it's only for my discount, so it's not a discount for everyone else, I might buy it there. So personalization, and again, all data. So what is important is, where is the data located? Location is important. Where do we store data? But also, where are my users? If I'm in the B2C market, I want to make sure that I have a right connection and close connection to my end user. But I also want to have a proper connection to the cloud where I store my data. So all is around latency. It's not only the hyperconnected area, but we also call it the Zettabyte age. Prediction for this year, 94 zettabytes. There's a bit of debate. I mean, depending on what kind of research organization you ask, that will vary a bit. But still, it's quite a lot. And if you then do the prediction that what will happen in the coming years, going to 149 zettabytes in 24, that's a lot of data. That's a lot of data. Now, predominantly, that is now being produced by the enterprise business. And the enterprise business, they have to make sure that they are able to connect to a cloud provider, but also to be able to connect to a closed user group of companies that they are doing business with, but also be able to connect directly to the consumer market. So all that data, storage, connectivity, we need to find a way for the enterprise market to be able to do that. And for them, it's a challenge, because usually they don't have a huge networking team to be able to do that for them. So they have to find other ways. So they have a number of challenges. So one, CapEx. For a lot of enterprise markets, it's not their core business. So why would you invest in building several network POPs across Europe or across the globe if it's not your core business? Most probably they already have outsourced quite a lot of their IT to service providers or cloud providers. So there is no budget to start building out yourself. Again, not their core business. Time to market. Everything is changing so fast. So if you build out as an enterprise your own network to be able to connect to a cloud provider, to a service provider, or to your consumer market, maybe within a few months' time, the demand is changing. The demand can be increasing, but it could also be that you're moving from one market to the other. It could also be that you're moving from one cloud provider to the other. So time to market is very important, and therefore also challenging for an enterprise. Peering knowledge. There's a lot of peering knowledge here in the room, but if you're a typical enterprise, you don't know, maybe even don't know what it is. And if you do know what it is, you don't have the knowledge in-house to be able to build that peering network for you. The most important thing is the business benefit. We can talk about latency, we can talk about how good an internet exchange is, but what's in it for that company? They usually don't see the business benefit. And I will explain that a bit later. So, what is the approach then for an enterprise? If they don't have the CapEx, they're OpEx driven, because that's easier to handle for them. But it does mean that you have to be flexible with them. As I mentioned earlier, the market is changing, so it could be that you have to change in the middle of an agreement because they need to go to another IX, they need to go to another cloud provider. So flexible agreements. And as they already are outsourcing quite a lot of their IT infrastructure, they want everything as a service. So that's a different approach to the enterprise market. Time to market, I mentioned it earlier. What they need is automation. I want to go into a portal, order something, and it will be provisioned directly. And we're in the IXP community, so yes, to an IX, but also to clouds, and also potential other services. Provide that flexibility to the enterprise market to say, I now need a DDoS mitigation service. I now need access to cloud. And provide them the ability to do that fast, fully automated, and on demand. Knowledge. It's a challenge for an enterprise customer to go to an IXP and then do everything themselves. So, as an IX, why don't you offer that service to them, saying, okay, dear customer, you're a financial organization, so therefore we believe that pairing with this and this provider makes sense for you, or to be in this close user group makes sense to you. Help them and provide that as a service to them. But although more and more enterprises do get their own AS, there are still a lot of enterprises that don't have an AS number and most likely don't need one. So there's a role for service providers to aggregate that enterprise type of business and use one AS to connect to several internet exchanges, for instance. And then the most complicated one, the business benefit. I started the discussion with talking about latency. And yes, that is important. Latency, throughput is important. But for an enterprise, they want to understand a little bit more. They want to understand, for instance, what their return on investment is. So if I buy this service, what is in it for me? What do I get out of it? Do I get do I become more efficient? Do I save costs somewhere else? If you're in the consumer business, you want to understand what the conversion rate is. So do I get more customers? Do I get more happy customers? And you have to explain them what the benefit is of maybe if you're in the financial world or in the manufacturing world, that other companies are also connected to that same internet exchange, and therefore it makes sense to join that community. But you have to move away from just talking about pure latency. It is important, and that's how it all started, but it's not the business benefit for an enterprise. So, understanding that, we created a vision, an open and trusted platform that enables connected data communities to interconnect instantly to anyone or anything, enabling digital services or digital transformation. We have a lot of visions, but this is one. And this is what, based on the challenges, based on the approach, we thought, okay, if we need to build a product, this needs to be the product. It needs to be secure, direct access to clouds, internet exchanges, or other services. It has to be on demand. So instant ordering, instant provisioning. And we need to create a flexible platform where our customers can just sign up, but then within a few months' time, say, okay, things have changed. I want to move. I want to do it in a different way, and provide that as a service to our customer base. And obviously, on that platform, it should be all using one port, and one port fits all. So going to a cloud, going to an IXP, going to a service provider, all via that same port. So we created what we call the Cloud Connect. Now the top part we already had quite some time. So we provide the ability to our customers to connect to cloud on-ramps, to all the major cloud services. But then we started working on that iXpearing port, and we have 3 of them up and running. So Lynx, M6, DKIX, and I verified it yesterday. Netnod is coming, but as you heard yesterday, they have already had quite a challenge to move from their legacy systems, also for their customer portal, and obviously that had to be done first before they can actually work on this part. I heard it will be available before the end of the year, so let's. I'm not going to put some pressure on the Netnod engineering teams, but let's see if we can make that and actually can do that business. This is the base product, but as I said, it should be open, and therefore the ultimate goal is to provide all the types of services. However, not our services, but someone else's services. So we allow carriers to provide services to our customers. We allow, as I mentioned earlier, DDoS mitigation, so security service. So if someone provides that service, they can tap in and provide that service to our customer base. So really an open platform. So our motivation with that was that we don't want to build per se our own product, because that's not our core business. Our core business is space, power, cooling. We're a colo provider. But we do get a lot of requests from our customers for these type of services. And so I guess the original idea was, if we build it ourselves and start building it ourselves, we have a framework that we can actually position into the market and say, okay, we now have a service fabric which is capable of other providers to tap into that service fabric. And I see that one slide disappeared a bit. We have been tapping in on what we call the IX API. And the IX API is a development from 3 internet exchanges. And we are a contributor to that. And we use that actually to build the platform that we have here. And the advantage of using that IX API is that, first of all, it's an open standard which helps us to connect to different internet exchanges. So it's not a separate implementation for every single internet exchange. It's one common interface. From the provisioning part, we moved from 2 days or 3 days provisioning to 2 minutes provisioning. Fully automated, no human interference. So the customer goes online into the portal, says, oh, I want to have a connection to this internet exchange. This is the speed. This is the contract I want to sign. Within 2 minutes, provisioned. So it's a benefit for us because we're able to provide that service to our customers. But it's also a benefit for an internet exchange because suddenly, although they have maybe a location in one country, suddenly they have a huge market on the doorstep, because we actually provide that service to all our data centers for now in Europe. So it's a win-win situation. So again, our goal, our motivation is to build that open service fabric. That's the basis. The IX peering part is a product that we created, but the next step is that open service fabric, allowing service providers to offer their service to our customers. And we want to give the option to our customers. So we don't say, dear customer, this is the service, this is what you have to buy, and this is how we deliver it. No, it's like a marketplace. You can select what kind of service you want and from who you want to have it. So by doing that service fabric, we don't compete with our service providers. We don't compete with our internet exchange partners. It's an open platform. So we started to build it in Europe. So with a diverse backbone, 100G connections between the locations. Now have 100 data centers connected. We have 35 internet exchanges already on board that we're going to slowly integrate into that platform. And obviously we also have the public clouds there. For us, again, this is the beginning. I would encourage everyone to have a look on that IX API, because it definitely makes sense either for yourself as an IX to offer service, but also if you're connected to an IX and you want to offer internet exchange services to your customers, by using that IX API, you can easily integrate that. And for us, this is the beginning, but as I mentioned, we are a bit larger than that. So the ultimate goal, obviously, is that to roll it out on a global scale in all our data centers, in all our markets. But again, we can't do that alone. We need service providers. We need the service offering from the community, the IXs, the cloud community, the service providers that are offering capacity between data centers, not only our data centers, but also maybe from one of our locations to another. So we need the community to work with us to create that service fabric to the next level. And that's it from my side.
Okay, thank you. We have some time. Are there any questions in the room? Question over Menti.
Testing, yeah. You suggest that enterprises that don't have or need an ASN can be aggregated to on the same ASN. How would that work in terms of routing?
So the larger enterprises, they do have their own AS, but a lot of the enterprises in the market, they don't have their own AS and they don't need their own AS. So in principle, they would be connected to one single AS, and that single AS would then be the peering to other ASs.
Any more questions in the room? Okay. Well, please join me in thanking Wilfried for his presentation. Thank you so much.